Hello there. So, first official video blog, I guess. And it seems as though the quote that I opened up with might be the best place to start. Some of Warhol's ideas from the philosophy on the concept of fascination, I suppose. The full quote being, during the 60s, I think people forgot what emotions were supposed to be, and I don't think they ever remembered. I think that once you see emotions from a certain angle, you can never think of them as real again. That's what more or less has happened to me. I don't really know if I was ever capable of love, but after the 60s, I never thought in terms of love again. However, I became what you might call fascinated by certain people. One person in the 60s fascinated me more than anybody I have ever known, and the fascination I experienced was probably very close to a certain kind of love. I guess in some respects that in and of itself is a big part of pop salvation, the concept of fascinations or crushes or quite possibly obsession or a fixation of sorts being a substitute for maybe expressing love another way. And within fascination, I guess there's somewhat the shelter of you can admire something and not feel a desperation, I guess, in learning to see the beauty in an object or a person or anything, or a work of art. Seeing that beauty and getting the sensation or feeling much like love from it. Also the idea there that, as Warhol did, he found the objects that he loved and he created them, and not only did he create them as art, but he created them with a certain multiplicity to it. It's like the repeated patterns of Marilyn Monroe, Liz Taylor, Jackie Kennedy, dollar signs and soup cans. It's like everything were the common everyday items that he had affection for, and he just repeated and repeated and repeated to the point of, I guess it could be perceived somewhat as an obsession, but it can also be a distraction from possibly not finding that sensation in other parts of your life. Now, with pop salvation, I kind of found the means to take those ideas and maybe possibly take some influences from when I was younger in the 1980s MTV world, and taking them a step further with obsession or fascination or crush, and taking all of the things that I loved from that era and bending them a bit into a novel, into bending them into fiction, and it giving you this really wonderful world where you can play with the outcome, and you can push your characters to extremes, and you can it's one of the fun parts of being a writer, is that you can take these various things that creep in on you, different parts of life or experience or people you've seen, things you've known, influences, things that you've admired or quite possibly found yourself fascinated with, and using a narrative to push them to possibly seeing an ending that teaches you something else about life and shares your narrative vision of how the world functions and how people interact. And it's this strange thing that people frequently ask me how much of the book is autobiographical, and you know, I'm kind of the school of thought that most writers create art with some degree of autobiographical character to it. You have to draw inspiration from somewhere, and be it a childhood fascination with Andy Warhol and the Silver Factory, or be it Tennessee Williams and his family, or Fitzgerald and his own life. It's the inspiration's usually somewhat near to you, and but taking the narrative road, you get to somewhat change the outcome of events, and quite possibly even use the work to resolve some of your own emotions and feelings about what may not have been originally resolved in the source piece or in your inspiration. It's part of the fun of writing fiction, I guess, is maybe creating the ending you would have liked to see, or a little something of that matter. And I'm quite certain there's a dozen writers that would absolutely disagree with me wholeheartedly. But that's what I found has been comfortable for me with the craft, or at times not comfortable. Again, you wander into the realm of obsession. As you guys are probably going to learn in this little video project, I'm quite apt at wandering off into these crazy tangent fields. It's just the way my mind works. Giving it, you know, occasionally having the structure of turning something into a novel is maybe a good idea. It tethers me in a bit. As far as a novel goes, hopefully it is now officially a part of the catalog, and hopefully you guys will see it on the shelf come July. It's got a great looking cover, which I'm waiting for word when I can start sharing that with people, because it's really quite beautiful, and I'm really happy with what the artist came up with, and it surpassed my expectations. So it's quite beautiful, and I think it, you know, in as much as a single image could quite possibly give you an idea of what the story is, the designer of the cover did a wonderful job. Just, you know, the only thing I'll let slip about it is think pink. I was kind of somewhat thrilled and humored by that. The cover is very, very, very pink. What fun! It's got a whole pop sensibility to the way it looks. Totally in love with that. Sitting here looking at the counter on this camera, realizing that I'm just rambling on and on and on. Okay. You know, at some point I will probably get really disciplined and come up with cue cards or some kind of guidance system. Or, if you guys want to send me an email to popsalvation09@gmail.com, send me questions, anything you want to know, whatever details about the book, or how I found the story, or any of those things. Just anything you might want to know, bounce me an email. We can always talk about those things. I have a few little projects in the works now that we'll talk about later, and maybe a few little, I'm trying to dream up just a really brilliant contest for you guys to, I don't know, give you a goal to shoot for and some little trinkets to be had. Again, all in the works. First issue, episode, whatever we want to call this little project, Fascinations. Send me mail. Tell me about your fascinations or your crush or anything. Let's kind of get a conversation going. Thanks for dropping by. I hope you're all well. And it's a beautiful fall day outside. I think it's time to go play. Mwah. Take care. Have a good one.